Hey, Ron Pagliarulo here again. And I want to continue talking about this Pro 2717 concept, this leadership concept, all based off of the proverb, as iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another. This whole program is really based on that one ancient proverb, but I want to continue talking about why do we need a leadership revolution. Now you might say, well, yeah, I know it's a catchy little thing, but no, I really believe deep down in my heart that we need a revolution. Now, the word revolution is normally associated with an overthrow of a political system, of how the people are governed, or a revolution might be associated with an overthrow of a religious system. But in this day and age, I'm referring to a leadership revolution because I truly believe there is a deficit. There is a void of real effective leadership. We throw that word around all the time in companies and organizations, and oh, we've got to focus on leadership, but what really is leadership, and why do we need a revolution? Well, I'm going to read you some statistics here that I just read in an article, and it's mind-boggling to me, but it confirms the fact that we are at a crossroads here. We cannot continue leading people in the way that it's traditionally been done. And most of the time, there hasn't been really effective leadership training. It's leadership concepts and its thoughts, but I'm telling you, I've taken over my over 20 years of experience in management and leadership development and said, no, let's really get down to it. If I was going to develop someone as a leader and train somebody as a leader, not only in my own organization and on my own teams, but if I was going to share this information with other people, what do we really need to focus on? And now I know there's the concept of management, and we'll talk more about this, and there's the concept of being a supervisor, right? But why a leadership revolution? Look at the statistics here. October 16th, 2012, according to the study conducted by Michelle McQuaid, it says a world leader in positive psychology interventions in the workplace, bosses are leaving Americans feeling unappreciated, uninspired, lonely, and miserable. The current situation in the workplace is taking an incredible personal toll on employees for organizations, and it's costing, check this out, $360 billion a year in lost productivity, said McQuaid. The study found that only 36%, now this part to me is just shocking, 36% of Americans are happy at their job. 65% a better boss would make them happy, while 35% chose a pay raise instead. 31% of employees polled feel uninspired and unappreciated by their boss, and close to 15% feel downright miserable, bored, and lonely. Only 38% of those polled describe their bosses as great, with 42% saying their bosses don't work very hard, and close to 20% saying their boss has little or no integrity. Close to 60% of Americans say they would do a better job if they got along better with their boss. Close to 70% of those polled said they would be happier at work if they got along better with their boss, with their breakdown equal among men and women, but younger workers in their 20s and 30s skewed even higher, 80%. Over half, 55% of those polled, think that they would be more successful in their career if they got along better with their boss, with 58% in managerial and professional careers saying so, and only 53% in service and manual labor positions feeling that way. In terms of the impact the boss has on employees' health, 73% of those in their 20s and 30s said their health is at stake, while only 40% of those 50 and older felt that way. When stress levels rise at work, a disturbing 47% say their boss does not stay calm and in control. Although 70% of baby boomers polled say their boss doesn't lose his or her cool in times of stress. Look at this other statistic here from this report. Only 38% of Americans will thank their boss on National Bosses Day, with most people believing that their boss wouldn't care enough to bother. Close to 10% said they would use the day as an opportunity to talk to their boss and improve the relationship. Folks, this is just one report here. I've heard for years one of the #1 reasons of heart disease. We're not just talking productivity here, but one of the major reasons of heart disease is job dissatisfaction. Now, in this day and age and in this economy, not all employees have the ability to say, hey, I'm going to go out there and look for other opportunities, or maybe there's a little bit of fear and trepidation that they don't want to do that. But if they're unhappy, if they're not feeling motivated, if they're feeling that there's a relationship problem with their boss, okay, we've got to look at this, and I believe that's why we need a revolution here. We can't continue doing what we've been doing and expect the same results. I mean, expect different results. We're going to get those same results if we continue doing what we've been doing. And this isn't just for a leader at the top of a company or a president or vice president. This is for anybody in that managerial role, supervisor role, mentor role, coach role. I believe there are some distinctions, but we need to start looking at this thing in a whole different manner. As a leader, you're there to develop people and make sure they are getting developed properly. I talked before in a previous video about what I think are the major reasons why employees are unmotivated and they are lazy and they're not productive and they don't really care about results and they do have excuses and they don't hold themselves accountable, right? But it does come down to us as leaders. I know this is a hard message for some people. I'm like, well, that's not true. That guy just doesn't have a good work ethic. And, well, is that in all environments is the question that you have to ask. Or could it be just in your environment? If they were in a different environment, could that person be a superstar? Could that person be a top performer? Like I said, it's part of being a good leader is recognizing if there's not a good fit. And you do have to make cuts. And you do have to say, you know what? Let's mutually come to an agreement here that if you're not happy and you're not feeling like this is really where you need to be, let's go ahead and mutually agree that go find something else. Right? That's part of your responsibility as a leader. But look, we have to start getting past the old way of doing leadership. It's the boss. First of all, I hate that word, the boss, right? It's to me a derogatory term. It's like, oh yeah, I got my boss over here and he's just, we got to get away from the leader as the boss. And we'll talk more about the manager role, and I think it's a crucial role, and I think there are distinctions. Sometimes some of you have to play the leader role, and the manager role, and the supervisor role, and the coach role, and the mentor role, but let's start with the basic tenets of good leadership and effective leadership, and what does that really look like? And what is an effective leader supposed to do? We're going to break this down into a program, into a system that hopefully in bite-sized chunks that you could start to walk away and say, yeah, you know what, maybe I need to improve in this area, or maybe I need to improve in that area. And we have to just stop saying it's our employees or our team members, and we have to look internally and say, what can I do to become that effective person who sharpens my team members, right? That effective sharpening tool. That's what I want to think of. I want you to think of yourself as an effective sharpening tool. We not only want to have our employees sharp, but we have to be that tool that can sharpen them. So let's look at more of some of this leadership revolution.